I spent 10 years studying the stock market. I never expected that just as I became a trader for a fund company, my parents would be about to jump off a building due to a margin call. However, watching this scene, instead of being afraid, I actually burst out laughing. Because for this day, I have waited for over 20 years. But seeing my crazed behavior now, my colleagues all thought I was scared out of my wits by my parents' suicide attempt. What they didn't know, however, was that the current me was no longer the same person. I was someone from 20 years in the future. In the original history, today was the day. My parents faced liquidation as Hong Kong stocks hit the floor. Unable to handle the pressure, they leaped from the rooftop. But what they didn't know was that 48 hours later, the Hong Kong market would bottom out and rebound, rising by 7,000 points, hitting an all-time high. This became the greatest regret of my life. Even after I became the world's most powerful stock god, with a net worth of tens of billions, this scar would still haunt me at certain moments. Unexpectedly, to my utter surprise, just a moment ago, I actually returned to the moment when my parents were preparing to jump. So in the next second, I dashed toward the rooftop, hoping to save them. In my previous life, after my parents jumped, I went home, and after studying various numerical analyses left by my father, I discovered his formula was correct. But our relative Shen Yuan, who lent us money, wanted to cut his losses, so he not only canceled my father's credit cards, but also spread rumors everywhere, making it impossible for my father to borrow money to cover his position. This caused my parents to miss the dawn that came 48 hours later. Thinking of this, I ran upstairs with all my might. In the next second, when I saw my father holding my mother's hand, about to jump, I suddenly shouted, "Dad!" Hearing my cry, my parents turned around, their faces filled with infinite shame. Zun's father, "I'm sorry, I've ruined the rest of your life." Hearing this, I immediately said urgently, "You haven't failed me, Dad. Your theory is correct. Just hold on for 2 more days, and the market will bounce back." The parents were clearly stunned for a moment, but it was only for a moment. "Zun, the money I used to cover the position has been cut off. Don't try to persuade me, son. I can't let you carry 4 million in debt." Damn it, I had dreamed of returning to this day countless times, but I didn't expect that. Although heaven granted my wish, my father was already in despair. No matter what I said, I couldn't change his resolve to die. There was only one chance, so I quickly took out my pager and yelled at my father, "Dad, I have a way to cover the position." "What?" Hearing my words, my parents froze in place. In 1998, following the financial crisis in Southeast Asia, the Hong Kong market was severely hit. The Kyushu financial market was damaged to a great extent. Soros, the god of investment, saw through Asia's financial landscape and used massive funds to short the Hong Kong market, reaping billions of dollars. This is what textbooks say, but according to my research, it was because Kyushu lacked investment opportunities, leading to financial loopholes, which allowed Soros to take advantage. Racing against time, I said, "Dad, let me show you a piece of news." Kyushu officials had already published news announcing the market rescue. This means the Bank of Kyushu will inject liquidity to protect the market. If we just survive these 2 days, it will rebound the day after tomorrow. Protect the market. My father frowned. Is that possible? The reason the market collapsed so quickly is that the government cannot bail it out. Bailing out the market requires a massive sacrifice, causing inflation, and then causing the entire Kyushu economy to collapse. Seeing my father's disbelief, I continued to explain, "Dad, listen to me. I've studied Kyushu's economic environment. Kyushu is currently in a difficult period for investment. Countries around the world have cut off investment in Kyushu. The Hong Kong market is the only outlet. Kyushu is still issuing more currency, vigorously developing infrastructure. Dad, aren't you a trader? This is a long position. Going longs means constantly buying investment assets. It might not yield returns in the short term, but if held long term, it forms a sustainable economic lifeblood. Since Kyushu officials want to go long, to make these infrastructure investments useful, they cannot let the financial outlet of Hong Kong stocks collapse. They definitely will. That actually makes sense. Somehow, Shenzun's father, a trader who worked his whole life, actually felt his son's words outweighed his years of professional experience. One must know that finance is actually closely related to policy. But Dad, don't worry about covering the position either. Shenzhen hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth. You know I've been watching the market for you. I also joined a company. The boss saw my ability was good and gave me a corporate account. There are 45 million in it. You should understand what that means, right? What? Shenzhen's father was struck as if by lightning. Frozen in place. Every securities group is composed of a board of directors and a regulatory commission. To make money, the board usually opens a group account, using insider information and the like, to make some extra cash on the stock market. This behavior is known as trading. But this extra money must be secured reliably. Zun, that money cannot be touched. Shenzhen's father said in despair. If they find out, they will kill you. Shenzhen, however, was unwilling to let this chance go. He gritted his teeth and wouldn't let up. Dad, if you want me to live a good life, then give me 2 days. Give me your private account. Let me turn this around. Is it possible to date? Shenzhen's father had lost a total of 2 million. However, if Shenzhen used the group's money and lost, looking at Shenzhen's cold and determined eyes, Shen's father knew he wasn't joking. After helplessly walking down from the rooftop with Shen's mother, Shen's father's hands trembled as he gave the private account number, password, and documents to Shenzhen. Zun, if you lose, I will jump down with both of you. Shenzhen said coldly. I won't lose. Shenzhen, who had become a financial tycoon in his previous life, had once said a famous quote. In the financial markets, opportunity only strikes once. No matter how much knowledge you have, or how decisive your judgment is, as long as you don't seize that one moment, it can instantly lead your family to ruin. Are you willing to believe your own theory? A gamble where the winner gains instant wealth, and the loser faces total bankruptcy and family ruin. Countless people sinking in the stock market, retail investors holding the idea of certain victory, have bet everything they have, but how many of them return in defeat? Shenzhen left quickly, looking at his determined back. Shen's father was heartbroken. It's all your fault for dragging our son's life into this. You old bastard. Shen's mother had a mental breakdown and knelt on the ground. Inside Yuanhao Securities Group, Shenzhen immediately rushed back to his workstation. The manager, Ivan, saw Shenzhen return and looked at him with a mix of shock and disdain. He actually didn't jump. Millions in debt and his entire net worth lost in it. And he still thinks about a turnaround. He might as well be dead. Under his urging, the employees returned to their desks. But Ivan noticed that Shenzhen was nervously operating something. Does his family account still have money? Ivan was surprised. In front of the digital computer, Shenzhen forced himself to calm down. He took a deep breath. After opening the group accounts, he quickly entered his father's private account. In a series of complex operations, finance is gambling. This is a game with no turning back. Even knowing the Hong Kong stocks would rebound in 2 days, Shenzhen still broke out in a nervous sweat. Not far away, Ivan had been observing him. With his years of securities experience, he was certain that Shenzhen had covered the position. However, Shenzhen's operations didn't stop. After staring at the screen for a full 10 minutes, Shenzhen's eyes suddenly turned ruthless. He logged into the group account again. Ivan sensed something was wrong. He slowly walked toward Shenzhen. Shenzhen stared fixedly at the computer. As a bold idea rose in his heart, the most charming part of the leverage finance game is to let returns grow geometrically. By constantly adding leverage, the whole 40 million go in. With 2 clicks of the keyboard, Shenzhen watched helplessly as the 45 million in the group account hit zero. He breathed a long sigh of relief, recalling the excitement of betting everything in his past life. A crazy thought rose in his mind. This is the only chance. As long as I endure these 2 days, I can definitely buy the dips. Soros took a massive bite out of him. After the funds were transferred, Shenzhen quickly logged out of both accounts and rushed out of the group office. Now, even if Ivan were an idiot, he would know Shenzhen was running away out of guilt. Holy crap, what did this kid do? Did he embezzle public funds? Ivan couldn't figure it out. since Shenzhen wasn't supposed to have access to group funds. However, digital computers of this era didn't have a function to delete record logs. Upon Ivan's inspection, those two damning fund transfers made Ivan's legs go weak. He almost fell to his knees. What He actually touched President Yang's account. All night, Shenzhen ran through the streets of Beihai City. He knew the chairman of Yuanhao Securities, Yang Dong, would be looking for him everywhere, wanting to skin him alive. But this wasn't enough. Rushing into a shop, Shenzhen settled down and borrowed some A4 paper. He wrote a 2,000-word thesis, and sent it to the office of the chairman of Yuanhao Securities. Then he dialed his childhood friend's landline. "Zun, do you want to die? Did you move President Yang's funds?" Because of the previous pager message, his friend Wang Yu had been waiting a long time. But his first words were a burst of shouting. Wang Yu's father was the partner of Yang Dong, the chairman of Yuanhao Securities. Back then, it was also him who introduced Shenzhen to Yuanhao Securities. "I'm sorry," Shenzhen said guiltily. "Brother, I'm going to put you in a tough spot this time." "Don't say that." Wang Yu and Shenzhen had grown up together. Their friendship was as deep as brotherhood. "Brother, do you have any money on you? Do you have a place to stay? I'll give you an address. Go hide there first." Hearing these words, Shenzhen felt a warmth in his heart. In his previous life, during his most difficult period, his basic needs were mostly handled by Wang Yu. He knew this rich kid really didn't care about money or fame, only about the bond between brothers. I want to borrow some money from you." "Nonsense, I'm just about to lend you money, aren't I?" The netizen cursed. "I still have quite a bit of money in my card." Shenzhen's gaze was like a hunter's, radiating a golden light. "Brother, I know. Your father left you a 5 million inheritance and a house. If you mortgage this house, you can pull out about 7 million. Lend all 12 million to me." The netizen was completely stunned. "How am I supposed to get that out?" "Trust me." Shenzhen knew there was no time to explain to the netizen. He emphasized, "After this time, I guarantee you lifelong wealth." "I'm hanging up. Wait for my call tomorrow, hello." Snap. Without waiting for the netizen's reply, Shenzhen hung up the phone. Then, without stopping, he called Yang Dong's office. At this moment, in Yang Dong's office, an anxious middle-aged man, waiting alongside a famous economist, picked up the phone. "Bang, Shenzhen. How dare you touch my money?" When Yang Dong heard the news, he was instantly consumed with rage. He slammed the table and stood up. Even as a board member, the whereabouts of this 45 million made him tremble with nervousness. This money must not see the light of day. "President Yang, when you gave me the accounts, it only had 20 million in it. I helped you earn it up to 45 million. Yang Dong's eyes were bloodshot as he spoke. "If it weren't for our board's 200 million as a backdrop, and giving you internal information, what kind of ability would you have to dare say you'd earn 20 million? What Yang Dong said was the truth. In reality, this amount of money, if given to any trader with a bit of professional knowledge, could be earned back. But I'm giving you a chance to increase your net worth tenfold." Shenzhen's incredibly cold voice came through the phone. "As long as you leave me alone from now on. Give me 48 hours. Are you crazy?" Yang Dong was fuming with rage. Sitting back in his chair with a headache. "You invested in Hong Kong stocks. With HK stocks, couldn't you have invested in Japanese stocks? You idiot." If Shenzhen had invested in Japanese stocks, even if he lost money, Yang Dong could use the board to recover over 10 million. But based on the current situation of Hong Kong stocks, this money of his is likely to be a total loss. "I've already sent you my thesis summary. This is a chance for you to achieve great success. Go to hell." Yang Dong hung up the phone abruptly, cursing loudly. "I'll kill you within 24 hours. You piece of trash." However, in the lonely office, Yang Dong held his head in despair. On the desk lay a fax. He had no intention of looking at this junk. "Take it and look at it." Yang Dong irritably threw the fax to the economist nearby. "Mr. Zhang Kang, professor of economics at Cambridge, President Yang, rest assured, with me here, you can at least recover some costs." Zhang Kang stood up and said. However, after taking the fax and reading it carefully, his eyes grew wider and wider. His emotions fluctuated like a roller coaster, shocked to the absolute limit. How is it? Yang Dong took a sip of water, trying to calm his nerves. After thinking for a moment, Zhang Kang looked straight at Yang Dong and swallowed hard. You should increase the position by 200 million. Over that, Yang Dong spat out a mouthful of water. Crazy. Everyone is crazy. Yang Dong felt that this was a nightmare. 123.59. President Yang. I'm really not joking. Look at the balance sheet first, Zhang Kang hurriedly handed the facts to Yang Dong. At this moment, hearing the name Shenzhen, Yang Dong wished he could summon the King of Hell. Asking him to look at this thesis summary was definitely an extremely difficult task. The next 10 years, Kyushu Economic Reports, Shenzhen Dam. He's quite arrogant. Yang Dong cursed. As a member of the group board, Yang Dong had once been a tycoon managing billions. What storms hadn't he seen? However, after reading this paper, his eyes froze for a moment. He immediately read it again. In the thesis summary, Shenzhen perfectly pointed out the rescue policies for Kyushu and concluded that this was a once-in-a-century opportunity. Elder Zhang, what do you think? Yang Dong became more sober, unable to make up his mind for a moment. This summary is better than countless long-winded papers and K-line charts. Zhang Kang rested his chin in his hand, brow furrowed deeply. Could this really have been written by a young man in his 20s? Written? I really can't believe. This was written by some green kid. This is completely at an academician's level. Academician in the 90s, even a professor, was someone that a big figure like Yang Dong could order around. What does an academician level mean? He hadn't even met ones. Elder Zhang, you mean we should really continue buying the dip? Yang Dong found it hard to believe. But after thinking for a long time, Zhang Kang couldn't reach a conclusion. Finally he sighed. My level is too low. The person who wrote this report has insights that transcend the era. Only he can give you the answer. Early mornings, Shenzhen, who had crouched in the bushes at his doorstep all night, vaguely heard a series of footsteps. He snapped his eyes open. He saw a fat man wearing a gold necklace, leading 7 or 8 thugs, hurrying toward Shenzhen's small villa. Brothers, don't break the stuff later. Just hit the person. Remember, we must snatch the property deed. Shen Yuan. It's this bastard. Shenzhen looked at him, his eyes turning instantly red, full of rage as if he wanted to devour his flesh. In his past life, after Shen's father died, Shen Yuan used a forged contract to take away their family villa. In reality, he had only lent about 1 million, but the value of the contents of the villa was around 700,000. Moreover, the land this villa sat on was extremely precious commercial land. After my dad died, this animal used this land to rake in millions in profit. Shenzhen gritted his teeth. This bastard lent us money just to snatch this land. Sometimes relatives are less trustworthy than strangers, but he couldn't appear just yet. In Shenzhen's memory, that bastard Shen Yuan came by car, and he had a habit. He never trusted anyone. All the company's seals and documents were kept in the car, sealed with a combination lock. Shen Yuan, this time I'll avenge my past life. But after tomorrow, I can give you a chance. Shenzhen's eyes narrowed slightly, showing a flash of ruthlessness. As long as you still have a shred of conscience. After this succeeds, I'll surely give you 50 million. When Shen Yuan led the thugs, swaggering into the small villa, Shenzhen took out a steel wire from his hand and dashed toward Shen Yuan's Buick. In his past life, a disheartened Shenzhen, in order to make a living, had been a locksmith, a truck driver. He'd done everything. It could be said that these experiences from the bottom had integrated into his blood and become his survival skills. With a snap, using only a piece of wire, Shenzhen picked open the door of Shen Yuan's car. What met his eyes was an iron box sealed with a combination. Shenzhen smiled slightly, but saw a young girl in the back seat watching him. Cousin. Shenzhen gasped. This was a graceful, stunningly beautiful girl in a floral green dress, with long hair like a waterfall, eyes like stars and the moon, skin as white as milk, and even possessed an indescribable fresh aura. Sister Kyan, I have things to do. I'm afraid I'll have to trouble you. Shenzhen sat in the driver's seat helplessly. Cousin Shen Qian was stunned for a moment. Then she nudged Shenzhen. What are you doing? If my dad finds out you're driving his car, you'll be dead. Bullshit. He wouldn't dare kill me. Shenzhen said disdainfully. He's all talk. Shen Qian froze in place. For some reason, she felt her cousin was a bit different today. The old Shenzhen was always silent, only interested in studying finance. Today, not only was he bolder, he was also particularly masculine. Sister Qian, I'll drive you back. Forget it, let's go to your mom's. Is your mom in Beihai? Without a word, Shenzhen quickly closed the car door and started the Buick. Shen Qian watched Shenzhen with immense astonishment. Cousin, didn't your uncle borrow money from our family? I'm here to make that money back. Shenzhen patted the iron box. Impossible, Shen Qian said helplessly. I'm even afraid of this password. Just as Shen Qian finished speaking, she saw Shenzhen casually reach out a hand and press 4 fours. The iron box opened instantly. How did you? Shen Qian said in surprise. Silly Shenzhen. Silly Shenzhen. He didn't even look at Shen Qian. Driving toward the outskirts of Gang City. This isn't a normal password. It can only be opened by pressing the code. At the same time the car starts, Shen Qian's mouth hung open in surprise. She was Shen Yuan's daughter. Yet even she didn't know. Shenzhen, that's enough. No more nonsense. Shenzhen frowned. I'm meeting a friend in a bit. Today you just follow me. I'll treat you to good food and drinks. But whatever happens, you must keep it a secret. Okay. Facing the assertive Shenzhen, Shen Qian curled up her body a bit like a young girl's, staring intently at Shenzhen's profile. Soon after, in the new district of Gang City. You, how is it on your end? Shenzhen went to a hidden public phone booth and dialed Wang Yu's number. A sneaky voice came from behind him. Damn, why are you coming here to call again? Can you be careful? Wang Yu. Shenzhen turned around. He saw a tall man wearing a baseball cap, holding a Big Brother cell phone as he approached him, saying this phone number belongs to the Big Brother. Shenzhen was surprised. Nonsense. Wang Yu cursed. Didn't my dad tell me to keep a low profile? He won't let me say. But I can tell you, you absolutely cannot put this money into the stock market. I am putting it into the stock market. Shenzhen said without concealment. You're crazy. Still investing. Wang Yu's eyes widened. He couldn't help but check his surroundings. Hunching over he said, brother, I'm not joking with you. I can't get that much money. I forced my dad's accountant to withdraw this money. I need to go into hiding for a while. How much? Shenzhen asked hurriedly. Over 8 million. Wang Yu's face was pale. He said, I gave my dad a few sleeping pills. When my dad wakes up and finds out, he'll definitely skin me alive. That's loyalty. Although it wasn't as much as expected, 8 million still satisfied half of Shenzhen's plan. Seeing his father's Mercedes parked behind Wang Yu, Shenzhen patted his shoulder. Going to the trunk to get the money. He said, you can't run. You still need to do me a favor. What, brothers? You really want me dead, don't you? My dad will definitely kill me. Wang Yu punched Shenzhen. Shenzhen, without a moment's hesitation, took out 2 duffel bags full of cash from the trunk. He spoke coldly. Don't worry. No matter what, you are still his biological son. I'm going to pull off a big job. Once this is successful, the money we'll get will be enough for us to live lavishly across the world for a lifetime. We only have a little over 30 hours now. Help me find a few accountants, take a few tens of thousands to buy a shell company, and set up a securities account. I'll get 5 million today. Then we'll take this 13 million plus and transfer it into these company accounts in batches. Staring straight at Shenzhen, Wang Yu suddenly felt that this childhood friend had become a bit of a stranger. Brother, I'll tell you the truth. If this 8 million isn't returned, my dad will very likely go bankrupt. Wang Yu spoke tremblingly about his family's assets, dreading failure. This was all of his cash flow. It won't happen, Shenzhen said, grabbing Wang Yu. Come with me. Let's take care of business first. I'll call your dad in a bit and give him a big gift. Champing Village High City. An elegant middle-aged man wearing gold-rimmed glasses was searching everywhere for Shenzhen's parents. Finally, under the driver's search, the man found them in Father Shen's countryside bungalow. He found Father Shen and old Wang in deep agony. This man was none other than Wang Yu's father. What made Shen's parents despair was, they learned that for Shen Zun's sake Wang Yu had swindled 8 million away. What a sin, Mother Shen cried piteously, repeatedly slapping Father Shen on the shoulder. Why did I choose a man like you? How can I face the Wang family now? How can I face my son? Stop crying. Although Wang Fu's face looked grim, he managed to keep his composure. Instead, he comforted them. That beast of a son of mine actually drugged me. I knew this day would come sooner or later. Old Wang, Father Shen's face was covered in tears. Wang Fu stared into Father Shen's eyes and said childishly, "Stop crying. Who told us to be brothers in arms?" But once he calmed down, Wang Fu felt something was eerie. Your brother Shen Yuan has already called the police. It seems his daughter was also taken away by Xiao Zun. But Xiao Zun doesn't seem like the type to act recklessly. Old Shen, tell me, is that formula you researched really reliable? It's reliable. Father Shen gritted his teeth, stating with certainty. Wang Fu sighed. That useless son of mine. If only he had 1/10 of Xiao Zun's courage, I wouldn't have to worry for the rest of my life. Compared to Father Shen, Wang Fu was more experienced in weathering storms. He looked at Father Shen with some doubt, muttering, Old Shen, do you think Xiao Zun has been pushed too far? I just received a call from that little beast. Xiao Zun told me to give him 1 day. He says he can win it all back. And he even told me to buy some oil, saying the officials will come to me to borrow money. Have you heard anything about this news? Oil futures. Father Shen's brow furrowed. In the structure of the stock market, based on the imitation of the U.S. bond market, oil-based futures had just emerged in the 90s. Xiao Zun's point is, the government can't just print money to save the world. They will likely look at private futures. For Machida Norifumi, Father Shen propped his chin up. Wang Fu asked in confusion, wouldn't that be a huge loss? Giving it away for free. Father Shen tried his best to remain calm, saying currently, isn't it only people within the system who can buy treasury bonds? I expect the government will use treasury bonds to trade, and they will be high-yield treasury bonds. When the time comes, leave those bonds to Xiao Yu, or use them as credit endorsement for the company. Both are beneficial. Holy crap, is that for real? Listening to Father Shen's mysterious judgment, Wang Fu was somewhat dazed. He didn't know whether things would actually turn out that way in the end. However, the old are wiser. As the CEO of a real estate company, how could Wang Fu go bankrupt just by losing some cash flow? He simply hadn't told his profligate son, Old Shen, I still have 2 million in my account. I was going to use it to save you, but it wouldn't be enough to fill your margin call anyway. How about this? Those old fossils on the board are definitely going to give me trouble this time. I might as well dabble in some oil futures. If the government really comes to trade treasury bonds with me, I can still give them an explanation. Shortly after, by obtaining Shen Yuan's private seal, identification, and tax certificates, Shen Zun successfully exploited a loophole in the financial system. Through the method of trading bonds, he managed to withdraw 5 million in cash. This 5 million represented all of Shen Yuan's assets. Some of it even belonged to his business partners. One could guess that once he found out, he would be fuming with rage, wishing he could eat Shen Zun alive. In the hotel room, Wang Yu looked at the quiet Shen Qian with infatuation and swallowed hard. It wasn't until Shen Zun returned with 2 duffel bags of cash that he snapped back to reality. Looking at the 4 duffel bags on the floor, good Lord Xiao Zun, I've never seen so much money in my life. There's over 10 million here. Pathetic. Shen Zun slapped Wang Yu's head, then handed a bottle of water to Shen Qian. Thank you. Shen Qian nodded, gazing at Shen Zun's profile. Cousin, did this money come from my dad? Yeah. Shen Zun said coldly. Don't worry, after today, I'll increase this amount tenfold. Your dad will be so happy he'll want to jump off a building. Xiao Zun, is this really going to work? Wang Yu still couldn't believe Shen Zun's words. Didn't you say you already used your boss's account to invest 45 million? Why don't we just run away? We could take this money and live lavishly around the world, and only come back when it's all spent. Don't worry, My dad is very capable. He can earn the money back in a few years. Get lost. Shenzun's tone was stern, his eyes full of solemnity. It had been a long time since he had formally operated a trade, especially after becoming famous in one battle and seizing tens of billions in assets from the US stock market. Reborn in this life, he not only had the hope of redeeming regrets, but also a natural sense of mission. I estimate that boss's money can earn back over 700 million. Most of that will have to be given to him. It'll mostly just keep me out of prison. And maybe he'll give me 10 or 20 million on the side. That's so shady, Wang Yu said in surprise. Shady my ass. Shenzun rolled his eyes at him. I got all that money secretly. Not going to prison is already good enough. But Wang Yu still couldn't quite figure out what Shenzun's actual goal was. Brother, why make such a big fuss? Just to grab some cash and run away for a good time. The risk is way too high. Nonsense, Shenzun muttered. In Russia in his previous life, as a trader who personally experienced this financial storm, Shenzun could never forget the aftermath. Countless people lost their jobs. Rooftops were crowded with people. Every securities group was filled with boundless curses and wailing, even though Kyushu's official salvation was very timely. Hong Kong stocks, as the only financial outlet at this stage, could be said to be of utmost importance. For every dollar that flowed into the pockets of foreign forces, thousands of people would lose their jobs or even jump off buildings. Xiaozun, just tell me what to do. Wang Yu fell backwards, lying flat on the bed. He stretched out lazily without any concern for his image. I've arranged all the peoples. I set up 7 companies, ready for whatever operation you want. No problems. Shenzun looked at Shen Kaiyan. Sister, I remember you studied financial management, right? Yeah, that's good. Shenzun rubbed his neck, a murderous look blooming in his eyes. 8 hours from now, a foreign power will descend upon the island. What we need to do is identify his cash flow and buy the dip at the same time as him. As much as he buys, we buy. We'll make him bleed a little. We will never let him earn this money back easily. Hearing Shenzun say this, Wang Yu suddenly got fired up. From the sound of it, it seemed there was even a personal grudge involved. As time flowed second by second, at this moment, countless people in Beihai were watching the movements of HK stocks. Yuanhao Securities Group, chairman's office. Yang Dong held a mobile phone, staring at the digital computer, hesitating whether to throw in the remaining 200 million. The tycoons of Champing Village and Father Shen held their phones, listening to the latest situation of HK stocks at any time. In the office of Shen Yuan's real estate company, after finding out Shenzun had put the money into HK stocks, Shen Yuan could only wait helplessly for news, hoping Shenzun could turn the tables and return the money to him. And then there was Ivan's. He absolutely didn't believe Shenzun had any hope of winning, but he still used his professional skills to closely observe the movements of HK stocks. Everyone's expectations, hopes, and disillusionment depended on these remaining 24 hours. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away, a man in a suit and leather shoes, under the admiration of a crowd of financial giants, formally transferred 4 billion into HK stock accounts. Friends, let's look forward to the screams of agony from the financial Jurassic of Kyushu. Xiaozun, after Shenzun taught Wang Yu how to monitor capital flow. Soon, in front of a temporarily assembled computer, Wang Yu suddenly shook Shenzun awake, shouting, "It's in! It's in! Mingxi Shipbuilding Group's stock price has risen." "No, it's still flowing in." Shenzun scrambled up. Under Shen Kaiyan's calm gaze, he hurriedly took a bottle of water and stepped forward to observe closely. Good. This is that bastard Soros setting his layout. He wants to quietly invest billions of funds into every blue-chip stock, and then let the junk stocks hit their limit down. Limit down, Wang Yu said in surprise. If it stops, won't the market close? Then how the hell are we going to make money? What do you know? Shenzun rolled his eyes at him. The reason HK stocks in the 90s were so crazy and left countless people infatuated was because the mechanism they used was not a macro control mechanism, but a reservoir mechanism. In a reservoir, it's hard to distinguish which are just blue chips and which are just junk stocks. As the market sentiment improves, every stock rises with the tide, but there is always one that breaks the dam. When the junk stocks can no longer move, The capital actually in the blue chip stocks on the market will sustain the market's operation. Everyone will start buying in. I get it. Wang Yu's eyes lit up. The prices of good stocks will skyrocket, and the bad stocks will also rise as the market recovers. But in reality, only professionals can distinguish good from bad. Right, yeah. Shenzhen patted Wang Yu's shoulder. The tide lifts all boats. Those 5 words are the ultimate truth of the stock market. Soon, as Wang Yu continued to monitor, Shen Qian, who was nearby, couldn't help but sit down too, staring at the computer screen. Look at Su's Pharmaceuticals. Look at Wang's Steel Group. Don't just look at the HK stocks. See if any large sums of capital are being withdrawn. Throughout the process, Shen Qian watched from the side. To be honest, Shen Qian did not understand the stock market very well. But strangely, dozens of names had already been called out by Shenzhen. The enterprises represented by these names could not be distinguished by the naked eye as blue chips or junk stocks. Yet Shenzhen could catch every strange capital flow and record it perfectly. The opponent's layout is very good, Shenzhen said excitedly. You take the money to those 7 companies. Spread it out evenly. Sister Qian, you're in charge of the accounts for these companies. According to the blue chip stocks we listed, buy into them one by one. Wang Yu asked in surprise. Won't we be discovered doing this? Discovered my ass. Shenzhen tapped the back of his head and directly rolled her eyes. Others have billions. We only have a bit over 10 millions. Do you think everyone is a calculator? How could they possibly notice this? But then Wang Yu asked a fatal question. What about your boss's 45 million? Where are you going to put that? How suddenly? Shenzhen's face showed infinite conspiracy and airiness. She whispered coldly, when something happens to him, you will all know. After Wang Yu left, Shen Qian was a bit flustered, making calls and keeping accounts. She looked like she was at a loss. Sister Qian, can you handle it? Shenzhen stepped forward and asked. By the bed. For convenience. Shen Qian had her 2 beautiful legs exposed. The distance between the 2 was barely 10 centimeters. Waves of fragrance wafted into Shenzhen's nose. Shenzhen was dazed. You don't know until you see it. It's truly a shock once you do. How did I never notice this before? She's really beautiful. Oh yeah, it's fine. I'm finished. Shen Qian handed over a sheet of paper. What? Now it was Shenzhen's turn to be surprised. In Shenzhen's plan to maximize profits, he had to invest in 20 stocks, adjusting them according to real-time changes. This is the so-called revenue model. Doing these accounts is supposed to be extremely difficult. How to invest? Which investment should be larger? Which smaller to be more cost-effective? Who investing more carries more risk? These calculation methods in financial concepts are not secrets, but they require extremely strong judgment experience and the computing power Shenzhen often talked about. Computing power is the calculation ability of the human brain. A genius with excellent computing power can simulate the changes of the entire stock market in a short time. And now, Shenzhen looked at the sheet Shen Qian handed him. He looked at it carefully and suddenly remembered something. Does your father forbid you from contacting other people? I remember your father lost a lot of money in business, right? Your family's money was all earned back by you through financial management. When Shen Qian heard this, she hesitated for a moment and then nodded. Looking shy, Shenzhen was overjoyed internally. He never expected that a genius was right by his side. What does Shen Qian's ability mean? Top-tier computing power, predictive power and insight comparable to a supercomputer. Once these abilities are applied to the stock market, it will bring about extremely terrifying performance. Making Shenzhen tens of billions, or even hundreds of billions, wouldn't be hard. My see. Shenzhen suppressed his inner excitement and said calmly, continue to observe Soros's capital flow. I will contact the head of Yuanhao Securities Group and have him close the net. At this moment, Shen Qian couldn't see the slightest ripple in Shenzhen's expression. Naturally, she didn't know how amazing her own talent actually was. And in the next moment, when Shenzhen used Wang Yu's mobile phone to dial Yang Dong's number, Yang Dong answered with a complex mood and said sternly, is this Shenzhen? Right, hello. Speak, kid. Are you Shenzhen? There should still be money in your account, right? Shenzhen said without hesitation. Yang Dong was momentarily at a loss for words. Recalling 40 hours ago, Shenzhen was just a low-level employee. His puppet. Yet now, his fate was bound to him, and he had even become an economic genius that Zhang Kang worshipped. What do you want to do? Yang Dong stammered. Do you still want my money? In the next half hour, a sum of money will be invested into the Qin Mining Group. I want you to put all of your funds into it. In that case, Shenzhen revealed a ghostly smile. We can make those people earn over $1 billion less. What? Over $1 billion? Yang Dong was completely dazed. Those people? Who are those people? After leaving those words, Shenzhen hung up the phone, leaving Yang Dong stunned in the wind. Professor Zhang Kang, who was nearby, noticed this. His face turned pale during his inquiry with Yang Dong. That's right, those people. Zhang Kang stood up, shocked. So that's how it is. I didn't even notice. It turns out there's another pool of capital in our stock market. Looking at the confused Yang Dong beside him, Zhang Kang's heart was filled with admiration, and he dragged Yang Dong to the computer, saying, President Yang, you haven't seen the value yet. This drop and rebound of the Hong Kong stocks is all related to a pool of foreign capital. It is this foreign capital that is bottom fishing our market, and it is this foreign capital that is destroying it. What? Yang Dong looked back and forth, finally seeing a hint of it under Zhang Kang's guidance, and this plunged him into an even deeper shock. If Zhang Kang's theory holds, it means every move Shenzhen makes is not just for his parents or himself, but for the Hong Kong stock market as a whole. He is protecting the Hong Kong stocks, recovering as much cost as possible from the enemy's hands, keeping this money in the hands of our own people. Truly, every generation produces its own talents. Zhang Kang's face was flushed with excitement, his hands waving in pleasant surprise. To have such a young man is truly the luck of my Hong Kong city. President Yang, which district is this young friend Shenzhen from? I'll go find someone immediately. No, now. I'll call and arrange it right now, letting him take a high position in the Hong Kong Economic Department. Yang Dong was still in a state of bewilderment. He froze for a moment, then realized, he's not from Hong Kong. He's from the mainland. I think he's from Beihai. In the hostel, following Shenzhen's continuous operations, Shen Qian successfully dispersed over 10 million in funds into various blue-chip stocks without anyone noticing. At the same time, a private corporate accounts also funneled 200 million into the blue-chip stock named Qin Mining Group. Little Zun, Wang Yu leaned against the screen confused. You had your boss pour all the money into this group. Why? Do you know their executives? Shenzhen shook his head. Then you have to know, Shenzhen's actions will make this Qin Mining Group one of the final victors. And this victor isn't even an ally of Shenzhen's. It's like a pie falling from the sky. Yet he saw a calm melancholy in Shenzhen's eyes. He murmured, using this event to establish a solid blue-chip stock for the mainland is more beneficial for the stability of Hong Kong stocks. What? Wang Yu couldn't understand these terms. Shen Qian, on the other hand, was a bit puzzled. The mainland stock market and Hong Kong are worlds apart. To put it bluntly, no matter how much capital the mainland market has, it can't reach the scale of the Hong Kong market and become the financial center of all Asia. Why did Shenzhen care so much about the mainland? But before long, Wang Yu shouted in surprise, pointing at the computer. It moved. The stock price started to rise 600. On the computer screen, the prices of the 10-plus stocks containing Shenzhen's funds began to climb slowly, from the initial $1 or $2 to $3 or $5. It only took 10 minutes. This meant that Soros had begun bottom fishing. The financial storm had officially begun. Let it rise. Shenzhen's face didn't change at all. Wang Yu, who was usually indifferent to the stock market, suddenly started operating the computer, asking Shen Qian to record the capital changes before and after. Sister Qian, how much have we made now? Only double. Shen Qian calculated. We haven't officially entered the game yet. One stock has doubled. Wang Yu's mouth hung open. All along, he had been a second-generation rich kid who wasn't very sensitive to money. But even if he wasn't sensitive, he knew how exaggerated the concept of doubling was. That is to say, From the time they entered the hostel until now, it hadn't even been 24 hours, and the assets Shen Zun invested had already doubled. And this doubling process only took 10 minutes. My God, Wang Yu's face was pale, his whole body trembling, feeling like he was witnessing a miracle. And this miracle was created by one of his own. This is nothing. Wait until you see something bigger. Shen Zun stepped forward and patted his shoulder. Immediately, he had Shen Qian release the shares of 2 blue-chip stocks. The price, which was around $1. Isn't this devaluing them? Wang Yu asked in surprise. Shen Zun signaled him not to rush. Sure enough, on the other side of the world, in a room full of greedy individuals, a young operator controlling the computer said in surprise, "Mr. Sorrows, someone is selling off the shares." Behind the operators, a middle-aged man walked over with disdain. Just a fool. He took a look, and then stopped paying attention to that stock. That fool sees no way out, and is probably just cutting his losses. Continue to inject funds. Bring the price back up. 5 minutes later, a miraculous thing happened, right under Wang Yu's nose. Looking at the trend, there was even room for more growth. What on earth is going on? Shen Zun's expression looked very eerie. He patted Shen Qian on the shoulder. Sister Qian, do you know what's going on? Shen Qian was silent for a moment, shook her head and said, "The stock market is wrong." Wrong? A golden light flashed in Shen Zun's eyes. The stock market, in the end, is a game between people. Because that old bastard Sorrows wants to get rich by bottom fishing, he will definitely collect as many of these hopeful blue-chip stocks as he can. Shen Zun explained to them, "This is what happened. When I just dumped the shares, he realized that we retail investors still have a portion of the stocks, so he intentionally raised the price, luring us to continue cutting our losses. So what do we do now?" When Wang Yu heard this, he thought it was terrible. If this continued, the losses would be even greater. We've already lost a part of it. Keep dumping. Shen Zun sneered. This time, dump the price down to $1. A few minutes later, in Sorrows's room, the young operator discovered another anomaly. This time, he didn't need to report to Sorrows, because Sorrows was staring right at it. Selling again, seeing the price go up. They want to earn more. Is that it? Sorrows let out a mocking laugh. The people of Kyushu really are the greediest when it comes to small gains. They only ever put profit above all else. Placing it on these small fries. Let it keep rising to 16, then let him sell. It's Sorrows pushing the price up. It means he has to invest even more capital costs. And in front of Shen Zun, Shen Qian, and Wang Yu, when the stock price rose to 16, Wang Yu looked at the price in ecstasy. Holy cow, I've hit the jackpot. Wang Yu was instantly carried away with success. Zun, if we sell the stocks now, couldn't we make a net profit of tens of millions? Wang Yu was going crazy. In just one cycle of buying and selling, he actually created tens of millions in profit. And without having to do anything at all. Just looking at the computer, giving a few commands, he could earn this money into his pocket. This is the 90s after all. What does 10 million mean? Even for Wang Yu's family as rich people, a top-tier Mercedes was only about $1 million. If 10 million were in the mainland, how many houses could you buy at 50,000 each? However, as the instigator of it all, Shen Zun gave a mysterious laugh, turning to Senior Shen, asking Senior Shen Qian, do you know how to operate at this time to maximize profit? Shen Qian felt some pressure. She did some calculations on her notebook. When the stock price rises to 16, the retail investors outside will get the news and start to stop loss. We take the opportunity to buy back these stocks. Is that so? Shen Qian's answer couldn't be more perfect. But it's not the only answer. Right, and yet not right. Shen Zun's eyes were like a hungry wolf's, staring fiercely at the computer. Follow my lead. We take the remaining few stocks and operate them all according to this model. Push all their stock prices up. Hearing this, Shen Qian didn't quite understand what Shen Zun wanted to do, and Wang Yu was feeling extremely pained. This is double the profit. If Shen Zun operates repeatedly like this, won't he be taking all that doubled profit just to push up stock prices? Is there any point to this? At this moment in Sorrows's office, Soros was covering his mouth, laughing uncontrollably. The dwarfs of Jeju, they all received the news at the same time. They are preparing to stop loss together. Good. Let them stop their losses. Buy as much as they release. And let's make the act convincing. We'll push the price directly to $2, so they won't hesitate anymore. And sell everything. Soros was full of heroic spirit. As a financial master, he knew very well what kind of investor sentiment every financial indicator reflected. The stop-loss earlier was obviously from those shareholders doing tentative stop-loss selling, and now he wants to raise the price immediately, so they no longer hesitate and completely dump the stocks in their hands. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, the young operator kept injecting funds, ultimately acquiring about 50 million worth of stocks. 50 million. And by Shenzhen's side in the hostel, Wang Yu covered his eyes, unable to believe what he was seeing. He quickly grabbed Shenzhen's Xiaozun. Enough, it has already tripled. Let's pull out. He earned triple. In less than an hour, he earned triple the profits. Shenzhen knew very well that as long as he offloaded the last of the stocks now, this operation could net a profit of 50 million. Then take this money to pay off the debts. As long as 20 million is left, taking it all to buy houses in the mainland. Within 20 years, he could become a multi-billionaire. And without taking any risks, he could also collect a lot of rent every year. But under Wang Yu's expectant gaze, Shenzhen's expression remained unmoved. He commanded coldly, Sister Kayan, invest all of this money into Qin's mining group. What Xiaozun? You're crazy. Wang Yu said in surprise. We earned so much money just to raise the stock price for Qin's mining group in the end. Wang Yu even began to doubt if he was an undercover agent sent from the mainland. At this moment, just as Shen Qian was using all the assets to buy into Qin's mining group, Yang Dong's side was also operating a total of 250 million in the market. Bang! Soros's face turned grim. He slammed the table. Are you playing me? At this time, 4 blocks of capital poured into Qin's mining group. One was Shenzhen's, including the funds invested earlier, a total of 65 million. 3 were from Yang Dong's. This was all his private savings, totaling 200 million, and Qin's mining group's own capital used for manipulation. The original 500 million used to harvest retail investors. Finally, there was the amount Soros set aside for bottom fishing. The 200 million he had prepositioned. A total of 900 millions, 65 million in capital. Nearly 1 billion totals. At a time when the stock market was sluggish, Qin's mining group, as the only blue-chip stock rising wildly, saw its stock price surge nearly 10 times. Mr. Soros, Qin Group stock price is still rising. Sir, Qin Group stock has risen tenfold. If we don't harvest now, we're going to lose miserably. Mr. Soros, damn it. Bang bangs. Soros slammed the desk violently. Originally, Soros wanted to use the chain link strategy, which is putting billions of dollars into different blue-chip stocks to harvest tens of billions in profit from the Hong Kong market. This led him to invest a lot of money into every blue-chip stock. For instance, Qin's mining group, with total funds nearing 1 billion, he only provided 200 million. Even if the stock price rose 10 times, the bulk of the profit was in someone else's hands. It didn't have much to do with him. Moreover, this would trigger a chain reaction. Mr. Soros, other stock prices have also started to rise. It's starting to get out of control. Mr. Soros, another stock has risen to $3. The Hang Seng Index has exceeded 3,500. Bang bang bangs. Pounding sounds kept coming from the office. At this moment, he finally realized clearly that he had been played, and played very badly. Qin's mining group. He muttered the names. His face was the color of pig liver. It was hard to imagine that in this world, there was actually someone who understood the stock market as well as he did. Even better than him. This guy disguised himself as a retail investor, saw through my scheme, and lured me into the traps. He instantly felt dizzy. He had actually blundered on this. As a supremely intelligent person who had drained British finance in the 70s and harvested from the 4 Asian tigers in the 80s, creating tens of billions in profit, He had never lost to anyone. He certainly never expected that he would be played like a toy by someone. And this kid was actually just a trader for a group. Since he understands these mechanisms, it means he could be like me, harvesting the stock market of a certain country. But why? He was completely baffled. Under the urging of the operators, he no longer waited. He said flatly, "Sell. By the way, help me make a call. Ask who the trader for Jeoju's Chin's mining group is." In the hostel, as the stock market kept rising, only Shenzhen held Chin's mining group. The three of them showed different expressions. Wang Yu was a bit depressed. After all, he felt that Shenzhen had just lost a chance to earn tens of millions. That was ready cash. With almost no risk, Shenzhen was very calm. While rubbing Shen Kaiyan's head, he warmly explained to Shen Kaiyan what the principles of the stock market were. Shen Kaiyan was very frustrated. She couldn't figure out why this cousin suddenly seemed to have aged 10 years, treating her like a child everywhere. Furthermore, the theories Shenzhen spoke of left the listener completely shell-shocked. It almost overturned all the traditional economics Shen Kaiyan knew. And not long after, as Shenzhen turned on the TV, on Hong Kong's financial channel, a handsome host, dripping with sweat, appeared on the screen. He said excitedly, "Citizens, after an hour and a half of market fluctuations, the Hang Seng Index has broken 4,000 points. At the same time, almost at the exact same moment, Father Wang Fu was waiting in Changping Village, listening to the radio news. Jeoju officials announced countless citizens were gathered before the trading hall. The Hang Seng Index broke 4,500. Citizens cheering. HK officials deployed the fire department. Chin's mining group injected 2 billion in Jeoju official funds. A single share is hard to find. Hang Seng Index continues to rise, soon to break the 6,000 mark. And at this moment, a dizzy Wang Yu, like those citizens, waited tensely in front of the TV. He heard from upstairs and downstairs the cries of shock from the citizens and the synchronized sounds of anticipation. They were silently chanting the number 7,000. Break, break. Wang Yu was completely immersed. As a person with only a superficial knowledge of stocks, though Wang Yu had never participated in stock investment, his own family group was also part of the market. At the same time, he deeply felt the profit the stock market brought to individuals. Every shout, every rise, even every 100-point rise in the Hang Seng Index, would mean countless funds flowing into his pocket. Our reporter announces, the Hang Seng Index has officially broken the 7,000 mark. And along with the red-eyed host's proclamation, Wang Yu suddenly lunged toward Shenzhen, almost fainting from excitement. Shenzhen pushed Wang Yu away, looking at Wang Yu's hysterical state, looking almost as if he would faint. A calm Shen Kaiyan ordered to continue recording fund flows. "I want to know clearly exactly how much money he raked in from the HK market, and which groups he took it from." Shen Kaiyan nodded. "Xiao Zun, Xiao Zun." Behind him, Wang Yu grabbed Shenzhen's hand, shouting in joy, 7,000 points. "Xiao Zun, do you know how much money we earned? Hundreds of millions, not just 100 million. It's a lot, several billion." According to Shen Kaiyan's estimation, although at the last moment Shenzhen transferred a large amount of funds, all to the Chin's mining group which had more total capital, he already knew that Jeoju officials would choose mainland groups for injection, and would arrange for this money to go to Chin's mining group, and other blue-chip stocks belonged to the world. He simply didn't have enough capital to compete with them. So from the very beginning, he never thought about how much to make them lose. It's just that for the money in Chin's mining group, he definitely wouldn't earn just a little. This sum was precisely the one with the highest profit. "How much is one share of Chin's mining group now?" Shenzhen asked alertly. Shen Kaiyan checked casually. "At 120 yuans. We can stop now." Shenzhen's face was no longer as it was before, but instead looked a bit pale. To the side, Wang Yu was stunned that Shenzhen kept ignoring him. He quickly asked, "Sister Kaiyan, how much money did we earn this time?" Shenzhen finally paid attention to him. He answered, "Around 4 billions. 4 billions. Wang Yu's eyes widened. Lightning flashed through his mind, as if he had gone mad. "My dad couldn't earn 4 billion in 10 lifetimes. Xiao Zun were rich. 4 billion in this Lifetime. I won't even be able to spend it all. Enough. Accompanied by a low growls, Shenzhen abruptly snapped open a bottle of mineral water and splashed it all over Wang Yu's face. Xiaozun, what's wrong with you? Wang Yu, with a nose full of water, choked out a question while trying to calm down. At this moment, Shenzhen pulled out a notebook and began calculating something on it. Shen Qian, how much did he make this time? He has already dumped everything. Shen Qian said helplessly. A total of 23 billion. Wang Yu gasped sharply. That guy is just too fierce. He actually hauled back 23 billion. Then how much capital must he have had? Fortunately, Shenzhen breathed a sigh of relief, but his brow remained furrowed. More than 20 billion isn't much to him, but Hong Kong's manufacturing industry must have been destroyed. As he spoke, Shenzhen checked the current status of Hong Kong's top 10 manufacturing groups. The result was that they were all bankrupt. Wang Yu gasped sharply again. Xiaozun, what about my father's real estate group? Is it bankrupt too? Wang Yu asked about his father. Shenzhen, with a grim face, controlled the digital computer and nodded. It was also bankrupt. But I will distribute your family's money back to you. Enough for you to open another one. Even 10 of them. Only then did Wang Yu gradually realize it wasn't just the Wang family's business. Shen Qian's father's real estate company also went bankrupt instantly. Those in real estate were considered lucky. After all, they are in the midstream of the industry, so the impact wasn't that massive. Those in animal husbandry, construction, and processing, the groups in upstream production, are the truly unlucky ones. My second uncle's shipyard also went bankrupt, and my aunt's husband's clothing group too. Xiaozun, why did even clothing sellers suffer? Wasn't it only related to real estate? Wang Yu operated the computer to check, and his face grew paler the more he looked. Wang Yu frantically checked information on every group, related to relatives and friends in his memory. He got a startling answer. This isn't right, is it? Wang Yu spread his hands in confusion and said, my ex-girlfriend's family also went bankrupt, but their family isn't even listed yet. This is illogical. What's so illogical about it? Shenzhen stepped forward calmly and turned off the digital computer. In Wang Yu's eyes, he radiated the faint aura of a superior and a rather professional air of leadership, as if he knew the Hong Kong stock market like the back of his hand. I said that in the Hong Kong market, except for blue chips, everything else is garbage. This garbage isn't only represented in listed forms. Do you remember the shell companies I asked you to arrange? As soon as Shenzhen finished speaking, Wang Yu's eyes suddenly lit up, and he was struck with sudden realization. Yes, in this era where everyone wants to use speculation to earn excess profits, there are countless ways to package unlisted companies into listed junk stocks. We only earned more than 20 billion in profit, but behind this 20 billion, there might be a loss of hundreds of billions in wealth. They come from every corner of society, and everyone is interconnected. After this, the economy of the Hong Kong stock market will suffer a heavy blow. Shenzhen's tone was somewhat heavy, and he said very seriously, groups like yours that can be brought back to life can temporarily form a short-term monopoly, but this also means you must bear more responsibility to help people within the industry make a comeback. In a dark corner far away, unlike Wang Yu, who was in a state of confusion, surrounded by a group of operators, someone was staring at the digital computer with bloodshot eyes. Great, we earned 20 billion this time. 20 billion. In just one day, we earned billions of US dollars, and with almost zero risk. The operators were opening champagne. Whistling, they were even more excited than if it were Christmas. However, hearing these noisy sounds, he suddenly slammed the table and cursed hysterically. Only 20 billion. I lost almost 40 billion. Damn Kyushu people. Whoosh. The atmosphere in the office instantly turned cold and grim. The operators looked at each other, not knowing why he was so angry, and only hurriedly asked, have you found out who the operator behind the Chin's mining group is? An operator tremblingly handed over a document. Behind that group is an operator named Wang Wu. He graduated from the Cambridge School of Economics, but has only handled accounts in the 10 million range. Wang Wu hurriedly flipped through the document, staring fiercely at the avatar on it, and gritted his teeth good. A Kyushu dwarf, he felt insulted, because he simply couldn't believe that an ordinary student, who graduated from Cambridge economics, could actually make him lose so miserably. So many PhDs and academicians have come like pilgrims to seek his advice on the truths of the financial market. The previous clash in the Hong Kong stock market also fully proved that his opponent was one of the top experts in the world. And yet, it turned out to be just an ordinary student who handled 10 million level projects and had never even controlled a fund over 100 million. Contact the Federal Finance Department immediately and poach this person. With resentment and shame, he said, I want to see what method he used to break my setup in the Hong Kong market. That person called Formal didn't know that a financial legend named Name had already extended his claws toward him, causing him to suffer an undeserved disaster that would be hard to forget even in his next life. A peaceful night, but an unpeaceful champing village. Old Shen, what else do you want to drink? I'll have my assistant send it over immediately. Tonight, we drink until we drop. In the dilapidated village square, Shen Fu and Wang Fu were holding a feast, inviting over 100 villagers to gather. They were shouting drink until we drop while holding wine glasses, yet they were also weeping like madmen. Watching this scene, the villagers all thought these two had some mental issues. But who could know that in these 12 hours today, the two had experienced massive ups and downs. Shen Fu, needless to say originally, was going to jump off a building but was talked down from the rooftop by his son, then witnessed his own economic theories sweep the junk stocks in the Hong Kong market, making the Shen family billionaires. Wang Fu first went bankrupt, but he knew his son lent Shen Zun tens of millions, and the money they could get this time would definitely not be less than 1 billion yuan. A sudden rise to success. Old Shen, I always said your son was destined for greatness. Unlike my son, who is just a complete waste. The already dead drunk Wang Fu seemed not at all worried that Shen Zun would abscond with the money, because even in his past life, when Shen Fu passed away, Wang Fu didn't hesitate to take over and look after Shen Zun, always believing that Shen Zun was no ordinary young man and would surely achieve great things. Don't say that. My son also benefited from your Wang family's help, Shen Fu said guiltily. No matter what, he still let Shen Zun fall into danger. If his theory had been wrong this time, then the consequences would have been unimaginable. Forget dying, just Yang Dong alone could make the Shen family regret ever being born into this world. It was even possible to be turned into a human stump. At this very moment, he still felt a bit shell-shocked. And then, Shen Zun's mother came running over from nearby. She was holding Wang Fu's brick phone, handing it to Wang Fu with excitement and worry. Old Wang, your son is calling. Can you help me ask where Xiao Zun is now? That little brat. Upon hearing this, Wang Fu's eyes lit up. He immediately grabbed the phones. However, just as he was preparing to give Wang Yu a good scolding about the sleeping pill incident, Wang Yu's voice calling for help came through the phone. Dad, this is bad. Xiao Zun was snatched away by Yang Dong. What? Wang Fu suddenly stood up, saying in disbelief, the money you earned was stolen by that beast Yang Dong. No. The voice on the phone sounded like he had just been in a fight. Panting heavily, we earned 4 billion. Dad, Xiao Zun gave me a bank card as a reward for our family, and he also said to have you take 1 billion to invest in mainland real estate. Forget about all that. Dad, quickly find someone to save Xiao Zun. I'm afraid that beast Yang Dong will kill him. With that, Wang Yu hung up the phones. Wang Fu quickly cursed. A stupid kid. When he came to his senses, he saw Shen Fu and Shen Mu's faces had turned pale. The three of them weren't easily scared to begin with. But in this era, the sound insulation of brick phones wasn't that good. They had likely heard most of what Wang Yu said. The overly agitated Shen Mu was tremblingly pleading with Wang Fu to make sure he helped then. With a bang, she clutched her chest and collapsed on the ground. And at the same time, Wang Fu's brick phone rang again. Shen Fu frantically held his wife, while Wang Fu also cursed irritably. Who the hell is it now? He just picked up the phone, only to hear a cold voice from the other end. Hello, President Wang. I am Rong Qi, the team leader of the Kyushu Financial Monitoring Center. May I ask if you can contact Shen Zun? Financial Monitoring Center. Wang Fu's face instantly turned pale. As a successful entrepreneur, it was impossible for Wang Fu not to know the origin of this organization. After all, it is now 98, not 97. The so-called Financial Monitoring Center before was actually for regulating the Hong Kong stock market. It is well known to everyone that after 97, the Hong Kong stock market was regulated by Kyushu. And to avoid chaos in the Hong Kong market, Kyushu basically only regulated the black money and the tainted assets of criminals within it, rarely doing large-scale planning. At this moment, for a national-level department to suddenly seek him out, it was impossible for Wang Fu not to be nervous. He swallowed his saliva somewhat tremulously, kept his composure, and slowly spoke. "Hello, Team Leader Rongs. I just received a call from my son as well. Xiao Zun. He was taken away by President Yang of Yuanhao Securities Group. May I ask if you can help look for him?" Beep beep. Before Wang Fu could finish, the other party hung up the phones, leaving only a deathly silence on the faces of Wang Fu and Shen Fu. Amidst the lively feast, he hurriedly called an assistant to take Shen Mu to the hospital. Kowloon City, Hong Kong. In the darkness, Shen Zun was blindfolded, hearing the sounds of horns all around him. After the horns faded, the vehicle drove to a relatively quiet place. He was clutching a small hand in his own. Shen Zun knew that was his cousin Shen Kaian's hand. At this time, Shen Kaian was also a bit nervous. She whispered a cousin. A bodyguard beside her immediately barked, "Shut up. Watch out or I'll fucking kill you." Shen Zun gasped. Hours ago, right after he gave the money to Wang Yu, a group of people burst into the hostel and abducted him. Originally, Shen Kaian could have escaped, but unexpectedly to save him this girl actually shouted that she was Shen Zun's cousin. Just like that, the two were taken away together. And not long ago, the vehicle started. Through observing the sounds, Shen Zun judged they must have come from the Luan district where the hostel was, to the sparsely populated wealthy area of Kowloon. It was then obvious that Yang Dong was the one who kidnapped him. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, the vehicle stopped in front of a luxurious villa. The bodyguards on the car dragged Shen Zun and Shen Kaian out. The two were hurried into the villa. When the bodyguard removed Shen Zun's blindfold, he discovered that he was in a magnificent living room. Sitting on the sofa with an excited face, rubbing his hands constantly, was Yang Dong. There was also a wealthy businessman in an expensive suit. As soon as he saw this person, Shen Zun's heart skipped a beat. In his past life, he often saw this guy on TV. He owned the largest villa complex in the port city, and was a real estate pioneer of the port city, named Huang Heidao. The other few were his subordinates. Director Huang's, the richest man from Luan district, and Director Hu from Wan Chai Pier, who did overseas trade. Why be so rough? Professor Zhang Kang was also sitting beside Yang Dong. He gazed at Shen Zun with an admiring look. Meanwhile, Yang Dong stepped forward. "Shen Zun, come and sit. Don't be afraid. We will absolutely not hurt you." Shen Zun glanced at Shen Kaian. He saw that after Shen Kaian recognized these three people, her face turned pale with fear. He and Shen Zun were both smart people. From the moment they saw these three, they understood the 200 million in Yang Dong's account must be related to these three bosses. To put it bluntly, these three bosses were all Yang Dong's partners. At this time, they kidnapped Shen Zun just to get a share of the money. The kid is quite handsome. As they say, the face is the index of the mind. Young and promising indeed. As Shen Zun sat down holding Shen Kaian's hand, the senile Huang Heitao immediately stepped forward to try and get close to Shen Zun. He even reached out and asked, "Is this lady your cousin?" Shen Zun immediately said, "Please arrange accommodation for us." "I see." Huang Heitao smiled politely. Under the watchful eyes of the group, Yang Dong, somewhat impatient, walked toward Shen Zun. He squeezed next to Shen Zun and patted his shoulder. "Little Zun, you're pretty good. I knew the Wang family wouldn't recommend a useless person to me. So, how much did we scoop up this time?" Looking at Yang Dong's eager expression, Shen Zun realized at a glance that this guy was testing him. Since Huang Heidao could find him, how could he not know how much money he made? Likely from the moment 4 billion was remitted into his account. His location was locked. 4 billion, Shen Zun said honestly. At this point, Director Huang from Luan cursed. The Wang family took all the benefits. I say, kid, you're really not loyal. If I had known there was such a profitable business, you should have come to us earlier. We are not short of money. Giving you 10 or 20 million would be a piece of cake. Shen Zun gave an awkward laugh. He knew the people sitting in front of him were all beasts in human clothing, claiming they were losing out. But in fact, they wanted to make a fortune without spending a penny. Many junk stocks in the Hong Kong market were created just for their speculative desires. This time, Soros took 24 billion out of the Hong Kong stock market. They bear a lot of responsibility for that. I won't say more. Yang Dong swallowed and said anxiously, Little Zun, you made a few thousand from my private account. We have our rules. Forget the Wang family's money, but give this money to us. From now on, your work and life, even finding a wife, will be taken care of for you. If you have any requests, feel free to ask. Everything is negotiable. After Yang Dong finished, Shen Zun couldn't help but curse in his heart, thinking that this bastard Yang Dong's appetite was truly huge. So these guys, in the presence of Huang Haid, Shen Qian also realized something was wrong. She leaned a bit closer into Shen Zun's arms. Meanwhile, Shen Zun gave a sheepish smile. While nodding, he took a bank card out of his pocket. He said generously, President Yang, don't worry. I've already prepared it. This 500 million is what you deserve. Without your capital, it would have been impossible for me to make so much money. Whoosh! As soon as Shen Zun said this, Huang Haid, Director Huang's, and Director Hu, their faces instantly turned pale. Yang Dong also showed an awkward expression. Obviously, he didn't care how much Shen Zun gave him. After all, he had invested 200 million himself, and he had already made a fortune. The problem was Bang, the always irritable Director Hu, slapped the table. Pointing at Shen Zun's nose, he said, You little brat, are you treating us like beggars? 500 millions. Do you know because of what you did, how much we lost? 500 millions. That's not even enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. Because of your operation, do you know how much? Our assets have shrunk. Shen Qian was so frightened by the shout that she shrank toward Shen Zun. She looked at her cousin beside her in a panic, but saw him just giving her a faint smile. As for what kind of people these guys were, Shen Qian had long heard rumors. Let's put it this way, even if Shen Qian's father were here, he wouldn't even be qualified to sit at the same table with these titans. The energy of these three people was enough to affect the economy of the entire Kyushu. Can Shen Zun really handle them? In her heart, a warm and large hand was placed lightly on Shen Qian's delicate and slender back of her hand. Shen Qian looked at the man beside her, wondering, is this still my former cousin? So soft. Shen Zun secretly squeezed his cousin's small hand. After enjoying it for a moment, he said seriously, if it weren't for us, perhaps the three of you would have gone bankrupt by now. In fact, you three might even have to thank us. You brat, what nonsense are you talking about? Director Hu slapped the table again. The wine glass fell to the floor, shattering into pieces with a crisp and piercing sound. In an instant, the atmosphere in the room dropped to freezing point. I have no reason to lie to you. Shen Zun shrugged. If you don't believe me, you can ask Professor Zhang Kang here. You should believe his words, shouldn't you? As soon as he finished speaking, all the eyes in the rooms turned simultaneously to Professor Zhang Kang on the side. Boss Hu, don't be in such a hurry. What this young brother said is absolutely correct. Professor Zhang Kang rubbed his hands excitedly, his eyes seemingly filled with stars. If it weren't for this young brother taking action, the entire Kyushu might have suffered an even greater catastrophe. Young brother, if you don't mind this old man, I would like to take you as my teacher. As soon as these words came out, the whole place was petrified. Who was Professor Zhang Kang? A titan-level figure in the financial world of Kyushu, and an authority in the eyes of many. But today, he wanted to take a young boy in his early 20s, a wet behind-the-ears kid, as his teacher. How could this not leave everyone wide-eyed? Cough cough. Huang Haidao coughed twice, looking a bit embarrassed. Professor Zhang Kang, we invited little brother Shen Zun today to talk about serious business. As for the matter of becoming his student, let's discuss that later, shall we? Professor Zhang Kang also seemed to realize that he had lost his composure a bit. He adjusted his expression and sat back in his seat, but his eyes remained fixed on Shenzhen, not hiding the heat in his gaze at all. Actually, the reason we invited you here this time is not to ask for money, Huang Heidao said with narrowed eyes. But it's not that important to us. Old Wank, if you have something to say, just say it, Shenzhen said, neither submissive nor overbearing. This old fox was calling me kid just now, and now he's changed it to young brother. Oh look, little brother is a straightforward person. Then I won't beat around the bush either. Huang Heitao picked up the cellular phone on the table and dialed his secretary's number. Bring the stuff over. Just a moment later, a long-legged secretary in black stockings and red-bottomed heels, a hot and glamorous woman, entered the room. She was carrying a stack of documents in her hands. The secretary leaned over to place the documents on the table in front of Shenzhen. As she leaned over, with just one glance, Shenzhen saw everything clearly. Black with lace trim, the secretary seemed to notice Shenzhen's gaze and winked at him flirtatiously. Just as Shenzhen was about to say thank you, he felt a sharp pain in his right hand. Shen Qian was pouting on the side, looking very unhappy. Shenzhen had to pick up the documents on the table to cover his embarrassment. Little brother, did you see anything? Huang Heitao narrowed his eyes, looking at Shenzhen with a half-smile. They are all worthless internet companies. Shenzhen frowned, his heart seemingly having guessed something. They're indeed of no value now, but it's hard to say about the future. Huang Heidao took a sip of red wine. Old Huang wants to inflate the stock prices of these companies, so as to sell them for a good price. Shenzhen said Old Huang old who. You see, it's easy to deal with smart people. Huang Heidao burst into laughter. That's right, these companies are under our control. After what you did to the stock market, it's facing a major reshuffle. Now is the best time to push up the stock prices. True, the stock market is volatile right now, and investors are anxious. If some stocks with strong momentum appear now and go against the trend, they will inevitably become the focus of attention. At that time, to what extent will the stocks of these companies rise? No one knows. Now is the best time for these people to speculate. I have to say, these guys' sense of smell is truly sharp. So, are you willing to join us? Huang Heidao smiled kindly. As long as you are willing, I'll guarantee you wealth and glory for the rest of your life. Shenzhen nodded slightly, without answering. If these guys really pull it off, even be worth, by then, I'm afraid the economy of the entire Kyushu would be in their hands. This guy's heart is truly black. Pump up the market value, then dump it at the highest point. He'll make a fortune, but the stock market will be a complete mess. But if he doesn't agree to their demands, I'm afraid he and Shen Qian won't live to see tomorrow's sun. Fine, I agree to manage the trades for you, but I need sufficient funds. Also, the conditions I proposed, you must satisfy. After weighing his options, Shenzhen made a decision. Good. Straightforward. Then it's a deal. Huang Heidao was overjoyed. Come, little brother, let me toast you first. After speaking, Huang Heitao drained his glass of red wine. At the same time, Director Hu, and Yang Dong also finished their wine. Shen Qian looked at Shenzhen with concern, but the latter gave her a reassuring look. Shenzhen also finished his wine. Huang Heidao clapped his hands, and dish after dish of delicious food was brought to the table. The room, which had been tense a moment ago, now became filled with laughter. After the meal, Huang Heidao put his arm around Shenzhen's shoulder and said drunkenly, "Little brother Shen, how many days do you need to raise the stock price of these companies to $10 a share? I heard your father and the others are looking everywhere for you." His words were very clear. Only when his requirements were met would he be allowed to leave. Shenzhen's eyelids twitched. This old fogey actually dares to threaten me. Just you wait. In 3 days, I guarantee your life won't be your own. Shenzhen patted his chest and also put on a drunken act. Good. A true hero indeed shows his worth young. Huang Heidao was overjoyed. He called for the butler. Butler Liu, take this young brother and that girl to the prepared bedroom. No matter what request he makes, you must fulfill it. Yes, master. Butler Liu lowered his head and said to Shenzhen, do you need me to find someone to carry the young lady to the room? Shen Qian couldn't handle her liquor. After drinking 2 glasses of red wine, she actually passed out right on the table. Forget it, I'll do it. Shenzhen draped his cousin's arms around his neck and scooped her up in front of him. He didn't expect her to be so light. He followed Butler Liu into the rooms. He took a casual look around. The room was very large. The decor was also very luxurious. It had all the furniture one could need. There was even a bathroom inside the room. It was basically a luxury suite. After Butler Liu withdrew, Shenzhen placed Shen Qian on the wide soft bed. Because the red wine was so strong, Shen Qian's originally fair neck was flushed bright red. Her clothes were also in quite a mess. Her perky breasts made it hard for Shenzhen to look away. Shenzhen gulped. He wasn't exactly a saint. To have such a top-tier beauty passed out on the bed, it would be impossible not to feel tempted. But taking advantage of someone in that state was something he still couldn't bring himself to do, especially since she was his own cousin. Resisting the hormonal urge, Shenzhen helped her take off her shoes and coat. He covered her with the blankets. He checked the time. It was 10 o'clock, and the moon outside was very round. He couldn't help but reflect on his actions since his rebirth. He wondered how his parents were doing, if they were too worried to sleep. He sighed. Shenzhen decided to turn in early tonight. Tomorrow, he'd still have to deal with those 3 old foxes. After taking a shower, Shenzhen suddenly remembered that he and Shen Qian had no change of clothes here. He had to wrap himself in a towel. Walking out of the bathrooms, he prepared to call Butler Liu. Just as he stepped out, their eyes met. In his shock, Shenzhen didn't even notice that the towel on his body had fallen to the floor. Shen Qian quickly covered her eyes and screamed, but she still peeked through the gaps between her fingers. Only then did Shenzhen realize, quickly picking up the towel to cover his vitals. Zod, you're awake. In his mind, 10,000 alpacas were stampeding. How could something so ridiculous happen? Yeah, I feel really thirsty, so I got up to find some water. Still dizzy? Shenzhen asked with concern. I slept for a bit, and I don't feel as dizzy now. That's good. Mr. Shen, Ms. Shen, is everything all right in there? Shenzhen sneered in his heart. Those 3 old fogies actually sent someone to spy on him. It's nothing. Could you please find a suitable set of men's clothes and a set of women's clothes? Brand new. Shenzhen said through the door. Certainly. Is there anything else you require? Not for now. Shenzhen and her. Shenzhen made a shushing gesture, signaling that the walls have ears, and they should be quiet. Then Shen went to the bathroom. He turned the bathroom light on and off, repeating it several times. Shenzhen frowned and filled a cup with water. He splashed it onto the bathroom light. Drenched by the water, the light bulb overhead flickered a few times and stopped working. Shen Qian was about to ask something, but he stopped her again. Shenzhen knelt down, feeling around under the sink. After just a moment, a black, cube-shaped object, a miniature bug flashing a red light, appeared in his hand. Shen Qian, standing aside, was dumbstruck. Right after, Shenzhen walked behind the TV in the bedroom. From the lamp, the drawers, and under the chair, he pulled out a total of 4 listening devices. These bone-spitting, cannibalistic old geezers. They really are watching me every single second. Shutting these devices off, Shen Qian said, still feeling a lingering fear. Zun, how did you know there were bugs hidden in these places? Shen Qian now admired Shenzhen to no end. From his boldness in spending a fortune to gain another, to his courage in staying composed before the 3 big bosses, every single aspect of him fascinated her immensely. And now, like a detective, finding this pile of listening devices, it made her even less able to see through her cousin. I learned it from TV. I didn't expect there to actually be some. Shenzhen made up a random excuse. He couldn't exactly tell her that in his previous life, because he took a big slice of the US stock market pie, he was monitored by the FBI in real time. Shenzhen, I feel like I'm understanding you less and less. Sister Qian, don't worry. I'm still me. It's just that some things happened, and I had to change. I'm a little worried about you. Shen Qian shook her head. None of these people are kind souls. I'm afraid you'll be destroyed at their hands. Shenzhen was startled. He dazed for a moment. How long has it been? How long since someone cared about him? In his previous life, though he reached the top of the pyramid, he didn't have a single person by his side who truly cared. Many people were good to him, simply because they were after his money. But in this life, his parents are still around. His brothers are with him, and his cousin cares for him so much. This made him feel a bit overwhelmed. I know, but don't worry. They don't dare to do anything to me yet. Shenzhen said backslash. This was my problem to begin with. I shouldn't have involved a girl like you. So what? You're my brothers. If someone bullies you, how can I just stand by and watch? Remember when you were chased by a dog as a kid? I picked up a stone and chased it away, right? Shen Qian raised her small fist and said indignantly, it's the same now. Whoever bullies you, I'll hit them. Shenzhen laughed involuntarily. He didn't expect her to remember something from so long ago. This girl. Shenzhen reached out and stroked her hair. Men's business should be settled by men. I'll find a way to get you out safely. Clearly, I'm the older sister here. Shen Qian said, slightly defiant. Be good and listen. Shenzhen dominantly patted her head. But you're still a woman. It's only right for a man to protect a woman. For some reason, Shen Qian actually didn't talk back. She didn't show any sign of dissatisfaction either. She let his palm stroke her head. As docile as a kitten, an ambiguous atmosphere instantly filled the room. Mr. Shen, the 2 sets of clothes you requested are ready. I've left them outside the door. Butler Liu's voice broke the romantic tension. Shen Qian turned her head away shyly. Her hanging hair hid her slightly burning cheeks. Butler Liu had prepared 3 sets of clean, new clothes for them. The tags hadn't even been removed. Shenzhen clicked his tongue. Man, these clothes are all high-end items. Just one coat is worth over 1,000. But he wouldn't let these small perks stop his plan to deal with the 3 bosses. Shen Qian had no concept of clothing brands. After getting them, she just checked if they fit. I'll go take a shower first. Since being brought here by Shenzhen, Shen Qian hadn't had a bath. For someone who loves cleanliness as much as her, it was simply unbearable. But with a man and a woman alone in a room, and the bathroom being right next to the bed, even a semi-transparent one at that, it was a bit suggestive. After Shen Qian finished her shower, she put on the new clothes Butler Liu prepared. It was a pale green pleated maxi dress. Shen Qian, who already looked pure, looked even more fresh and sweet in it. For a moment, Shenzhen was stunned. How did I never notice Shen Qian was this beautiful before? Are the clothes a bit unsuitable? Shen Qian asked bashfully. Do I look a bit like a child? I think it suits you perfectly. It looks great, Shenzhen said sincerely. Ph, glad you have some taste. Shen Qian hummed softly, but couldn't hide the smile on her face. Shen Qian sat down beside Shenzhen, twirling her semi-dry hair with her fingers. Do you think we really have a way to live? Of course we do, Shenzhen said confidently. Even if I can't live, I'll find a way for you to get out. Hearing this, Shen Qian grew anxious. That's not okay. If you can't live, then I'm staying here with you. Thinking that sounded a bit strange, she quickly added backslash. If I just abandoned you and left, how could I face your parents? Shenzhen laughed softly. A warm current flowed through his heart. I have a plan, but it's dangerous. I might need your help. Sister Qian, don't talk about backslash. We're in the same boat now. Your business is my business. Shenzhen was silent for a while. He said seriously backslash. How do we do that? I've noticed something. This villa should be an asset under one of their names. There are no cameras in the places we've been. This suggests one thing. It means someone used to live in this villa. Shen Qian nodded. Shenzhen was momentarily stunned. He didn't expect her to be this smart. She understood immediately. Exactly. Since someone lived here, they likely left behind a pager or a computer. You want to find those things, and then call the police. Shen Qian covered her mouth and whispered, but we don't even know where we are. And the inspectors might be bought off. Right. Shenzhen guessed what Shen Qian was thinking. Don't worry, I'm not that stupid. Then you're saying I'm the stupid one. Shen Qian curled her lips. No, absolutely not. Shenzhen chuckled backslash. But I naturally have other intentions. Didn't you say that? They've been watching us. Then there must be people guarding us outside, right? There are likely no more than 5 people guarding us. Shenzhen held up 3 fingers. Why do you say that? Shen Qian asked, puzzled. 3 reasons. This house is surrounded by woods as far as the eye can see. That means it's definitely in the outskirts. Since the villa is in the suburbs, they certainly don't want to be disturbed. Furthermore, guarding 2 defenseless people like us doesn't require many people at all. Shen Qian nodded subconsciously. Second, since they captured us and brought us here immediately, then it's very likely that this villa is a place they use for illegal activities. Third, if it really is as I say, naturally, the fewer people who know about this place the better. That makes sense. Shen Qian asked. What about the last point? Take a look at this. From somewhere, Shenzhen pulled out a crumpled little note and handed it to Shen Qian. 3 OMs. Find a way to get to the study. I've left what you need there. There are no more than 5 guards watching you. Be extremely careful. There should be no more than 3 people indoors. The exact distribution is unclear. Must be careful. Seeing this note, Shen Qian was momentarily at a loss for words. Who left this for you? Yang Dong secretly slipped it to me. So you knew all along. Why didn't you say so earlier? Shen Qian felt like she had been played for a fool just now. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to worry. Shenzhen felt a bit embarrassed. He took the note back toward us and flushed it down the toilet. Can Mr. Yang be trusted? Shen Qian was somewhat worried. We wouldn't be jumping from the frying pan into the fire, would we? Since he dared to hide it from the 3 big shots to give me the note. He should be trustworthy. But he's the one who dragged you into this storm. If he still wants to make more money, he won't lie to me. Shen Qian suddenly thought of something. No wonder you sent him that message back then, telling him to invest all his money. So you actually had this trick up your sleeve. He's no fool. He knows if I work for the 3 big shots, he won't get a single penny. Shenzhen said, but if he helps me, I will owe him a favor. The future benefits for him will certainly be plenty. Every investment of mine must have a return. That is what a qualified trader ought to possess. Shen Qian was stunned. She didn't expect her cousin to be shrewd to such an extent. He looks to be in his early 20s, but his mind is comparable to those old monsters. The things he says, and the things he does. How could someone in their early 20s be capable of this? But even if Mr. Yang is really helping us, what about the guards? Don't worry, I have my ways. Shenzhen gave a mysterious smile. So we have 2 goals tonight. One is to find a communication device. The second is to find what Yang Dong left for us. What did he leave for us? I don't know. A pager would be ideal. Shenzhen shrugged. It's getting late. Let's get some rest first. I'll wake you up in a bit. Shenzhen stood up, but was grabbed by Shen Qian. Where are you going? Shenzhen was stunned. He said, I'm going to sleep on the sofa. Just sleep on the bed. This bed is very large. But what? We used to sleep together all the time when we were kids. Have you forgotten? Shen Qian wouldn't take no for an answer. She forcefully pulled Shenzhen back onto the bed, showing a rare, dominant side of her personality. You're sleeping here tonight. You'll catch a cold on the sofa. Oh come on, you're a grown man. Why are you more timid than a girl's? As if angry, Shen Qian pulled the quilt over her head, burying herself in the covers. She left one last sharp word, sleep or don't. I don't care. Shenzhen was completely at a loss. Since she had put it that way, if Shenzhen continued to refuse, it would be inappropriate. Taking off his clothes, Shenzhen carefully crawled into the covers, lying on the soft large bed. All the exhaustion from this period was washed away. Before he knew it, Shenzhen actually fell fast asleep. What he didn't know was that Shen Qian, less than half a meter away, was blushing with a racing heart. She wasn't sleepy at all. Ever since Shenzhen got into bed, a long time had passed, but there was absolutely no movement. Shen Qian was curious. Just as she was about to speak, she realized a snoring sound was coming from beside her. Shen Qian's cheeks turned bright red. She felt like punching the guy. Idiot idiot. Big idiot Shenzhen. Wake up in his dreams. Shenzhen vaguely heard a sweet voice, calling out to him. Sis Kyan, Shenzhen rubbed his bleary eyes, looking like he hadn't had enough sleep. What time is it now? Shenzhen felt like he had just closed his eyes. Before being woken up, he didn't feel like he had slept at all. The room was pitch black. The woods outside were also eerily quiet. This was the time when everything was at rest. 10 minutes to 3:00. Shen Kyan said somewhat helplessly. We should still have time, right? Shenzhen slapped the back of his head hard. That was when he realized he almost ruined everything. Sorry, Sis Kyan, I almost overslept. You've been too tired lately. Shen Kyan shook her head. After all this is over, you really should get some proper rest. Actually, he couldn't be blamed for being drowsy. After going through so much, Shenzhen's mind had been in a state of high tension. He finally got a few hours of rest, but it was far from enough to recover fully. Find what we need quickly, and then get a good night's sleep. After preparing a bit, the two stood at the door, looking at each other. Ready to go, Shenzhen nodded firmly. Let's go. Stay behind me. If we're spotted by the three big shots, you just run. I'll hold them off. Just as Shen Kyan was about to protest, Shenzhen seemed to know what she was going to say, and spoke before she could. Now is not the time for an argument. Everything according to my lad, okay? Shen Kyan nodded helplessly. All right, let's move. Shenzhen quietly pulled the door open, leaving a small crack. The hallway lights were already off. It was very dark, and no footsteps could be heard. Shenzhen finally felt a bit relieved. He boldly opened the door and left the room. Fortunately, no one was guarding the room doors. Thinking about it, the big shots probably didn't want to arouse his suspicion. They were on the second floor. Based on Shenzhen's earlier observations, the study was right next to the dining room, meaning it was on the first floor. This villa was at least 500 square meters. It was exceptionally large, so their actions had to be cautious. If the plan failed, the three big shots would likely turn on them immediately, or do something even more extreme. Sitting around waiting to die wasn't Shenzhen's style. Since there was a slim chance, he had to take it. Slow down. The light is on ahead. Seems like someone's there. Shenzhen whispered. Ahead, around the corners, was the staircase leading down. To get to the first floor, this was the only path. Looking closely, a man dressed in black, tall and muscular, was guarding the stairs. He was alone by the windowsill, smoking a cigarette. What now? We can't take him in a fight. Who said anything about fighting him? Shenzhen said, Sis Kyan. This is where you come in. What should I do? I just threw some things. To clog the toilet. Ask him to help us fix it. Buy me some time. I'll definitely be back before you're done. This is too risky. Trust me, Shen Kyan nodded. It was now or never. Shen Kyan walked out boldly. Sure enough, the brute noticed the noise and spotted her immediately. Sir, could I trouble you for some help? Shen Kyan said shyly. The toilet in our room seems to be clogged. Could you please take a look for us? It's so late at night, and I really don't know what to do. Of course, miss. I'll go get some tools for you. Hiding to the side, Shenzhen was amused. This guy looked tough to handle, but he turned out to be quite the helper. The brute really fell for Shen Kyan's story. He hurried off to find some tools. Hold him off as long as you can. Buy me some time. While the brute was looking for tools, Shenzhen crept downstairs. At the bottom of the stairs was the living room. The lights were bright. He saw a man, dressed in the same outfit as the other brute, sitting on the sofa, head down, seemingly looking at something, pricking up his ears to listen. He could even hear the man muttering to himself. The guard was sitting with his back to Shenzhen. Shenzhen knew he couldn't delay, so he gathered his courage and continued down. After the last step, Shenzhen finally heard what the man was saying. Oh, Prime Minister, what will become of Shu now that you're dead? Prime Minister, please don't die. The man was actually sobbing quietly, holding a novel in his hands. Good grief. Turns out he stayed up late and got obsessed with three kingdoms. However, this made it easier for Shenzhen to proceed. Relying on his memory, Shenzhen felt his way through the dark and actually reached the study door without hindrance. Shenzhen could hardly believe His luck was actually this good. He carefully slipped into the study. It was pitch black inside. He didn't dare turn on the lights. In such a large study, how was he supposed to find it? The item Yang Dong had left for him. While Shen Zun was thinking, a strange voice suddenly spoke from behind him. He instantly broke into goosebumps. Cold sweat poured down. Are you looking for this? Damn, the worst-case scenario. He had been caught red-handed. Shen Zun clenched his fists, his mind working rapidly, thinking of how to break the stalemate. You're Shen Zun, right? The unfamiliar voice spoke again from behind him. This is what Yang Dong left for you. Seeing that Shen Zun didn't speak, the person behind him continued. After dinner today, I saw him sneak into the study suspiciously. He didn't come out for over 10 minutes. I figured he must have been in the study, doing something. Sure enough, I found what he left for you. So I've been waiting here for you. What do you want? Shen Zun turned around, but because the room was too dark, he couldn't see the person's face at all. I haven't mentioned this to anyone. The man said, I can sell this item to you. I'm very short on money. Shen Zun was taken aback. He asked suspiciously, how much do you want? How much can you give? The man asked back, it's a pager and a document. I haven't touched anything. Shen Zun still felt something was fishy. Name your price. As long as you give it to me. And don't expose me. I can give you this much. By the faint moonlight, Shen Zun saw the man hold up 5 fingers. Shen Zun gasped. This guy, could he have overheard my conversation with the 3 big bosses? Is that why he's here to extort me? His appetite is way too big. He's not afraid of biting off more than he can chew. Seeing that Shen Zun remained silent, the man seemed unable to help himself. He lowered 2 fingers. His tone became somewhat nervous. If 50,000 is no good, is 30,000 okay? Say that again. Shen Zun wondered if he had misheard. 3, forget it. 10 is 10,000 okay? For a moment, Shen Zun was completely baffled by this man. Although 10,000 yuan was quite valuable in this era, for the current Shen Zun, it was a mere drop in the bucket. 8,000 is also fine. 10,000 it is. Shen Zun didn't want to waste time. But I can't give it to you right now. My accounts are being monitored by them. When can you give it to me? I need the money urgently. Shen Zun felt the man's attitude soften. How about this? Give me your pager first. Give me an account numbers. I'll have my brother transfer it to you tomorrow. How about that? I don't know how things are going on Shen Kaien's side. There's no time to delay. I have to get back quickly. How can I trust you? Before 10:00 a.m. tomorrow. If you don't get the money, you can directly tell your boss about my business. What your boss would do to me. You should know better than I do. 10:00 is a bit late. The man fell silent for a long time, seemingly struggling with the decision. Shen Zun had no time to wait for his hesitation. He said urgently, I promise not to deceive you. You're making this very difficult for me. The man was still hesitating. What's so difficult about it? Since you've delayed so long, I have to add more monies. Why does that line sound so familiar? How much more? 5,000. The man's tone softened again. Fine, I'll add 10,000. Shen Zun just begged him to stop dawdling. Miss, I've cleared the toilet for you. The large man in black held a plunger in one hand and wiped sweat from his forehead with the other. Then I won't disturb you any further. Wait, don't go yet. Shen Kaien didn't expect this guy to move so fast. He cleared the toilet in less than 5 minutes. Miss, are there any other instructions? The man asked curiously. Well, can you help me check the air conditioner? Shen Kaien wasn't very good at lying. I feel like there's a smell coming from it. Is it because it hasn't been used in a long time? It seems a bit moldy. This room indeed hasn't been used for quite a while. The man nodded. All right, I'll take a look for you. Shen Kaien thought to herself. Thankfully this guy is a bit simple-minded and doesn't have any bad intentions. She felt slightly more at ease. But the man's next sentence scared Shen Kaien into a cold sweat. By the way, miss, why haven't I seen the gentleman staying with you? He's too exhausted. He's over there sleeping like a pig. Don't mind him. Shen Kaien pointed to the large bed 10 meters away. See? Even us talking like this won't wake him. The man glanced at the bed, Perhaps because the lighting was too dim. The man didn't look too closely. Then I'll try to keep the noise down. Shen Qian breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, she had stuffed some things under the covers earlier. From a distance, it really looked like someone was lying there sleeping. But it was also thanks to this guy being such a blockhead. If it were someone smarter, they would have probably been exposed by now. Although this man was a bit dimwit, his hands and feet were surprisingly quick. In less than 3 minutes, he had removed the air conditioner's filter, cleaned it, and put it back in. The whole sequence of movements was fluid, and done in one go. Shen Qian was stunned watching him. Brother, can you slow down a bit? Miss, it should be fine now. The man closed the air conditioner cover tightly. After confirming everything was correct, he said to Shen Qian, since there's nothing else, before the man could finish. He was interrupted by Shen Qian. Look at how much you're sweating. You'll catch a cold if the wind blows on you later. Why don't you take a shower before you leave? The man was stunned. Rubbing his buzz cut, he said, I appreciate the offer, miss, but I have to go back and keep watch to protect you too. Big brother, don't be shy. It's so late and I've troubled you so much. I really feel bad about it. Shen Qian gave a fake smile. Take a hot shower and relax a bit. I really don't need to. Miss, I'm still on duty. I can't leave my post. The boss will find me. Isn't your mission just to watch over and protect us? As long as we stay here quietly and don't cause trouble for you, it's fine, right? Shen Qian's lying skills seem to have improved. Besides, your boss is already asleep. There are no cameras here. Who would know if you're working hard or not? Shen Qian blinked her seductive eyes. Don't you agree? Brother, miss, I appreciate your kindness, but I'm paid to do a job, and I absolutely cannot let my employer down. The man spoke with righteous indignation, thumping his chest passionately, and saying with great pride. Shen Qian was speechless. Was this guy completely immune to persuasion? If it were anyone else, being worn down by a top-tier beauty like Shen Qian, they would have surrendered and waved the white flag long ago. Yet this guy didn't waver in the slightest. It was truly ridiculous. Beyond ridiculous. Absolutely. Absurd to the core. All right, miss. It's late. Please rest early. I won't disturb you any further. With that, the man was about to open the door and leave. Shen Qian was so anxious her back was covered in sweat. If he were allowed to go back now, Shen Zun wouldn't be able to return. Shen Qian stubbornly clenched her fists. No matter what, she had to make this guy stay today. Shen Qian hurriedly grabbed the man's sleeve, forcing a smile that looked worse than crying. Brother, you must be thirsty. How about having some water before you go? No thank you, miss. I'm not thirsty right now. Then how about something to eat? I've already had a midnight snack. Do you want to use the bathroom first? Shen Qian was so desperate. She didn't even know what she was saying anymore. Miss, are you hiding something from me? The man seemed to realize something. His gaze shifted to the bed in the distance. Shen Qian's thought, oh no. Is she unable to hide it anymore? No. What could I possibly be hiding from you? Why is it that we're making so much noise? Yet that gentleman seems unable to hear anything. It's over. He's noticed. Is that so? At this point, Shen Qian could only play dumb. He just turned over, didn't he? I'm going to go check right now. Please step aside. The man's tone began to turn serious. It's so late. Let's not disturb him. Shen Qian's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Her heart rate even exceeded 120. In case he gets grumpy upon waking up, and it gets back to your boss, you'll have your pay docked right. For the last time, please step aside. The man was the epitome of incorruptible. No matter how Shen Qian tried to persuade him, he wouldn't listen. Since it had come to this, if she didn't step aside, he would probably use force. With no other choice, Shen Qian slowly took a step back, watching him cross her line of defense. In the blink of an eye, the man had reached the bedside. He grabbed a corner of the quilt, about to lift it to investigate. Shen Qian closed her eyes in despair, leaning weakly against the wall. At this moment, her heart was filled with self-reproach. She had failed his expectations. She could even foresee what the three big bosses would do to them. It's all over. Hey, what are you doing? Hearing this familiar voice, Shen Qian's deathly pale face suddenly regained color. You bastard. Why are you pulling my covers? Are you sick or something? Shenzhen rubbed his eyelids, while pointing at the man and cursing. Do you know what time it is? You're not sleeping, so you come here to pull my covers. Shenzhen's tone carried a significant amount of anger. If Shen Qian hadn't known better, she probably would have been fooled by him too. Now this is what you call acting. Sir, I am truly sorry. I just wanted to confirm if you were here, sir. Confirm what? It's so late. If I'm not sleeping here, could I have slipped off to the first floor to play? I was sleeping soundly, and then you do this. I thought I was about to be assassinated. I am truly sorry. Please forgive my offense. Believe it or not, I'll tell your boss tomorrow, and have you fired on the spot. Hearing this threat, the man panicked. No, 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 sir. Please don't tell my boss. I don't want to lose this job. Please be the bigger person, and forgive me this once. The man bowed and apologized repeatedly, his attitude extremely sincere. Given this, even Shenzhen felt awkward saying anything harsher. Shenzhen put on an impatient look. Fine, fine. I can't be bothered to pursue this with you. Go do whatever you're supposed to do. Stop bothering my sleep. Thank you, sir. I'll get lost right now. With that, the man rushed out of the room at top speed. He carefully closed the door, fearing he might disturb Shenzhen's rest. After he left, all of Shen Qian's strength seemed to vanish. She slumped to the floor, her voice even carrying a hint of a sob. When did you get back? I was scared to death by you. Sob. Shenzhen was startled by her state. He quickly jumped off the bed, held her shoulders and comforted her softly. I'm sorry I'm late. I made you worry. I climbed in through the study window on the first floor. I saw you were talking, so I didn't notify you. Shenzhen gently stroked her head and said softly, it's all thanks to you for buying me time. Shen Qian was taken aback. She looked Shenzhen over carefully. She said anxiously, climbing through the window. It's very high here. What if you had fallen? Am I not perfectly fine? Shenzhen smiled. Are you worried about me? Isn't it normal for a sister to worry about her brother? Shen Qian stubbornly and bashfully replied. Shenzhen curled his lip. He didn't want to get bogged down in this topic. Did you get the item? What is it? It's something that will allow you and me to escape these clutches. The corners of Shenzhen's mouth curled up slightly. Early the next morning, Mr. Shen, Miss Shen, are you awake yet? Butler Liu arrived punctually at their door to ask. Shenzhen's voice came from inside the room. It's so early. Can't we sleep in? The chairman invites the two of you to the hall for breakfast. The door is pushed open. Shenzhen and Shen Qian, already neatly dressed, said good morning to Butler Liu. They were ready to have breakfast. Starving, they followed Butler Liu to the dining room. The three big shots were already seated. They had already begun eating. Seeing Shenzhen enter, Huang Heida greeted him warmly. Morning, little Shen. Did you sleep well here last night? Thanks to you. The bed is very comfortable, but I still prefer my own bed. Shenzhen let out a yawn and took a seat with Shen Qian. Don't be in such a hurry, little Shen. Going back is just a matter of a few days. Haste makes waste, doesn't it? Director Huang echoed. If you really can't get used to it, I'll find someone to go to your house and move your bed here. How about that? The hot-tempered director who burst into laughter. Shenzhen's leg twitched slightly, but he didn't lose his temper, only giving a couple of awkward laughs. Little Shen, I've already sent people to set up the equipment. Today is the first stop. Are you confident? Huang Heidao stuffed a piece of sandwich into his mouth. All our money is riding on you. Shenzhen understood. This was actually a reminder not to try any tricks. Rest assured, I will fulfill the mission. In fact, even setting aside the factor of being threatened, inflating valuations like this was, for Shenzhen, simply a piece of cake. In his past life, Shenzhen could no longer remember how many companies had hired him as a trader. Almost without exception, he perfectly met the client's requirements. But this time was different. Breakfast was finished by 9 o'clock. There was half an hour left before the market opened. The equipment had also been installed. Shen Qian was logging into the accounts, while Shenzhen sat idly in his chair, fiddling with his hands. The three big shots sat right behind Shenzhen, staring at him intently. For a single company, the current average market value didn't exceed 300 million. The three big shots had prepared several accounts worth hundreds of millions for Shen Zun today, handing all of them over for him to trade. Shen Qian was in charge of managing the funds. Despite having seen so much of the world, seeing such a massive amount of money still made him feel a bit nervous. But for Shen Zun, 100 million was nothing at all. If the funds that had passed through his hands were truly counted, it would likely be an astronomical figure. The time reached 9:30. The stock market opened on time. Shen Zun's originally lazy eyes suddenly brightened. Buy 30 million into Company B in 3 batches. Buy 10 million into Company D in 5 installments. Someone has noticed one of our stocks. Enter slowly, don't rush.